Read Theory Nation. Thank you all for joining us. It looks like everybody's calling in from all over. I saw a few other people from North Carolina. That's where I'm at. Washington State, Los Angeles, New Jersey, Atlanta, Pennsylvania, Missouri, Japan, Malaysia. I mean, we are worldwide. Super exciting. This is an incredibly special PD that we have today. You're going to be hearing from Kevin Jordan, who is here online tonight from LAUSD. He actually presented this same presentation that you're going to hear today at ISTE out in Colorado this year. So really excited. We're going to get to share this with you tonight or this afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. You will get a PD certificate for attending about 2 hours after this webinar ends. So watch your email for that. Second thing, housekeeping is you are going to get a 30-day free trial to Read Theory Premium. We're going to put that link in the chat for any of you who've been wanting to try Read Theory Premium features. You're going to get that. If you have questions throughout, you can pop them in the chat or you can wait to the end. We are going to take the time to address questions at the end. But if you have a dying question and you want to get it out so you don't forget, you can pop it in the chat and we'll scroll up and make sure that we address everything. Lastly, we have prepared a notes doc for you. This is a document that as we go on in the webinar, you can take notes. It has sort of guided questions. So this is the link to it. You can go ahead and make a copy for yourself so that you can take notes as we go. All right. And at the end of the webinar, we'll also be linking the link to Read Theory Premium, and you'll also be getting that in the same email that you're getting your PD certificate about 2 hours after this webinar ends. Okay. All right. And that's it for the housekeeping. So we're going to kick this off and give a warm welcome to Kevin. Oh, Kevin, I think you're on mute.
Oh, sorry about that. Now I apologize. So thank you. Thank you for being here. Welcome in our humble abode. Give you a little bit about me. Again, my name is Kevin Jordan. I'm an adult education ESL teacher in Los Angeles, California. I'm now actually in my 21st year with the district in teaching ESL. I have a strong background in sales and marketing. But other things about me, I'm actually in the leadership positions, the second largest teachers union in the United States. Called United Teachers Los Angeles, or UTLA. My credentials are, I have an adult secondary education credential in the state of California, adult basic education, the SADAI, which is kind of like a CLAD, cross-cultural language and development, which allows me to teach in the K-12 setting the English language learners, because this is important. Because in Los Angeles, there's a high number of immigrant families, second language learners in Los Angeles. We actually probably per capita, we actually have some of the highest in the country, in the United States. I am also what they call CATESOL certified, which means is a California teachers, California TESOL certificate, which is teachers of English second language. I don't remember all that, but anyway, I do have a CTE credential, career technical education and accounting, and also computer applications credentials. So I have a pretty broad spectrum to find out, to have an idea of where my students are, where they're going, where they want to do, and and I really believe that the basis of our student success starts with reading. And this is the reason why I really am an advocate for Read Theory. Let's go next. So let's take notes. If you're on your phone, you can either scan the QR code Or you can take the link, and this will give you some guided notes, give you about maybe about a minute or so to kind of take notes, to kind of set that up for you. What it'll do is it will make a copy for you, and then you just make the copy, and then that way you should have a document for you that you can take notes.
And we just popped the link in the chat. So for those of you on a computer, you'd rather type it out, you can check the chat.
Okay, so by 2025, roughly one out of 4 students will be an English language learner. This is pretty significant. You figure in the state of California, we have about 40 million people. And right now, if you notice, if you look at the state of California, this is the research from National Center of Education Statistics 2020. Percentage of public school ELL or ESL students. K-12 is a primary focus, of course. California, if you notice, is 17.7%. I believe I've seen Georgia, you got 7.5%. North Carolina, you guys are 7.7. Texas, 20.1%. Actually, one of the highest in the United States as far as English language learners. So it's there, and it's how we choose to serve them, and how we choose to help them succeed. And and I believe in this program, Read Theory. If you want to kind of put in the chat, go back on that one, Courtney. If you'll go back to that, if you guys want to put in as to where you're from statewide, or you even put in a number as to kind of where your state is at, that would be quite interesting as well. And I think even Minnesota is sitting at 8.6%. So that's just short. That's almost 10% of the population of Minnesota. New Zealand, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, Florida, it's in the 9.7%. That's basically, one out of every 10 students in the school is a second language learner. That's still pretty significant. You figure if you have, let's say you have a school of 2,000. I've gone to school up in Orange Park, Florida. You have a school of 2,000. Roughly now you've got roughly 200 students of that school that are English language learner, and how do you best serve them? Georgia, you're sitting at 7.5%. All right. So give you a little bit of demographics of the California ELL students. 40% of them speak language other than English at home. 19% of public school enrollment are ELLs. Now, I teach adult education. So my students, they go to school in the morning. We have a kind of an interesting situation in Los Angeles. In Los Angeles, our morning population are predominantly moms dropping the kids off at school. They go on to the classes in the morning, and then they pick up their kids in the afternoon, and they're looking to be able to communicate with their children's teacher. We also have them in the morning that are trying to be able to help their kids with their homework. And they're just having a hard time. Not that they're not intelligent. It has nothing to do with it. It's a matter of being a second language learner. What's interesting in California, particularly in Los Angeles, if you'll notice, 81.9% in California speak Spanish at home. And then if you look at the ELLs are enrolled in K through 5, 34%, 66% 6 through adult ed. So again, and I teach adult education, so I'm looking at it on a lens of how can I help my adult learners help their kids learn the language so they can help their kids. Because what I firmly believe is if the parent is successful, if the parent is learning the language, the child will also be successful. And so literally what will happen is kind of a success breeds success. So if you have a child that you may be having a discipline issue with it. It's not that they're wanting to be rowdy or whatever in your classroom. They may not understand. And so one of the ways that we as adult as educators, period, is we can get the parents involved, especially if you've got with the K-12 student, if you have the student identified, as an ELL learner, which we all do, then you can also get the parents involved. And what will happen is that the parent is involved by learning the language, and they're also going to be able to help their child. Again, it's an academic success. It's achievement across the curriculum. When they have a knowledge of the English language, then increased job opportunities, teaching adult education. Again, this is my 21st year. It was a very powerful statement, but one of my adult education students promoted from level 2 to level 3. This is before I was introduced to ReadTheory. And he got a certificate, and he was so proud of himself. He got a certificate, and he took it to work. And then what happened was his boss gave him a promotion and also pay raise because he was learning the language. He's been wanting to promote him, but he just didn't have enough language. So when that certificate happened, he got a promotion and a pay raise. So it's my belief that if we as educators help our students to become a lot more literate in the English language, what we're going to do is we're going to decrease the wealth gap, increase earnings, and lift our families out of poverty, which is what we want. Because if they do better, we all do better. It's generational. So if the parent is able to get a better job, right, because they have the language skills, then chances are their children are going to get more opportunities as well, because again, it goes back to success breeds success. I'm a firm believer in that. Let's go next. All right. So why did I start using it? Well, there was another program. It was a reading program. I'm not going to give a name because I don't want to say bad or good or about any other program, but it was a reading program that our school district was really promoting. And the problem with it, I liked the program, but it was limiting in nature. So in other words, if my students wanted to do extra reading, they had to ask me for worksheets or reading material, or they had to try to find something. Well, I've been doing, this is my 21st year teaching English. And if they start reading on the internet, and for example, I do know that I'm not for sure about New Zealand. Maybe you guys can kind of help me out here, those of you from New Zealand and Malaysia. But for example, in the United States, and if you have like a 1-bedroom, in the United States, we would call it an apartment. I know in the UK and in Australia, they call it a flat. So there's a lot of things that are out there. There's a lot of things that are out there for the learner to read, but is it what they want? What will make sense for them? So I'm looking at something that is, one, it's adaptive. I teach it when I first started this, I was teaching a level 2A, beginning high level A, which means that for those of you that are not familiar, beginning high first semester, basically. That was my first introduction. So I was looking at it as students that wanted to do something extra. They had to rely on me giving them something to read, or they would try to find it on their own on the internet, which is not always good information for them. So I started actually talking to a colleague, and she introduced me to the program ReadTheory, and I liked it because it's adaptive. My level 2A students at the time, even though everybody was 2A, level like beginning high A first semester, the reading levels are so different. You may have someone that is let's say they're at the first grade reading level. You have a student, maybe they're at the fifth grade reading level, or the second grade reading level, or the third grade reading level, and it's various Lexile levels. So what this program does is it's truly adaptive. It engages the student. I've noticed that my students, when there's a little bit of idle time, they're logging into ReadTheory and just reading. And I love that. I hold them accountable. I have the premium program. Thank you, Courtney. And I love my premium program because what I can do is I can assign quizzes for the week. So in other words, in the United States, the first day of the week is Sunday. The last day of the week is a Saturday. So as people are learning the language, they also need to learn the culture out of it. And in the United States, the first day of the week is Sunday to Saturday. So not only are they learning how to, hold themselves accountable, I'm holding them accountable, but also they're learning some of the cultural portion of it, which is another piece of the puzzle. So I give them 10 quizzes every week for them to do, and I hold them accountable for it. We'll have a check-in on a Tuesday, usually on a Friday, to kind of see where everybody's at. If they have 6 quizzes on Friday, well, guess what? They still have Friday night and Saturday to finish up 4 quizzes because I have them do 10 quizzes every week. And, they're being held accountable. But what I've noticed is that when I get them on 10 quizzes per week, they're ending up with 15 or 20. So it's just kind of success builds success. One of the things I really love about this program is the student can track their own progress, and that's the power. If the student can measure their own progress and they can see their own, moving up the scale, that's where the power is. Now, as an adult ESL teacher, I don't worry about if they got the quiz right or wrong. I don't really care. What I'm looking for is the number of quizzes. So, for example, they'll have like let's say they do 3/20 for the week, 3 quizzes correct out of 20 quizzes for the week. Well, guess what? That's a celebration. Hi, yay, good job, woo! Party. I don't care about that they got 17 wrong, because a program is adaptive for them. It's truly for them. And again, it's measurable. It's measurable and achievable. They can also set daily routines. I'll have on Monday morning, like first 15 minutes, 20 minutes of the class period, I have them log into ReadTheory to get them to start off. Also, what that allows me to do as a teacher is that I have a chance to breathe. Well, maybe if the traffic was really bad that morning or whatever, I have 15 or 20 minutes. I can kind of get myself together while the class is engaged in reading, and it sets up routines for the student. It's web-based, and I love the fact that it's web-based. There's actually 0 student data. I'm with Los Angeles Unified School District, and we have about a year ago, we were hit with a cyber attack. And so the district is very, very particular on what happens in student data. And so I put ReadTheory in for LAUSD, for the technical support department, to look at, and it cleared the technical support department in about 3 weeks. And I dare say LAUSD is one of the toughest in the country to get things through. And I got it done in 3 weeks. I was surprised. As a premium member, I've used them some. A lot of times what I'll do is I find some other programs where I can take the worksheets and I can turn them into like a little quiz. So it's really, really neat. So let's go to the next slide. This is why I like it. The students practice. Now, give you a little bit more into it. They have to do 8 quizzes at the very start. So what I do, literally the first week of the school year, or of every class or school year or whatever that you guys are, whatever you are on in LAUSD adult education, we're on the trimester system. So what I do is the first week, I have everybody log in a lot in the first week on ReadTheory to make sure that everybody completes the first 8 quizzes, because what that does is the pretest that actually puts them in the level. This is important because the reason when you put them in the level, then me as a teacher, I can see where everybody's at. And I can do it. If you're in K-12, you can do a seating chart. As adult education, I've got a grouping that I can do. And I can really monitor the students. And then at the end of an adult ESL, what I can do is ReadTheory gives me a pretty good predictor. I'm not 100% with it, but I got a pretty good idea of how they're going to do on our promotional exam. So for them promoting or passing the reading portion of the exam. Let's go next. Each little quiz, if you notice, it's a short, high-interest fiction, nonfiction articles. Now, this is interesting too because they're each one. When the student signs up, they have to put their age into it. So this is important because, for example, in adult education, my adult learners don't really care about. I don't know what the latest, little kids thing is that they really like, but they couldn't care less. They really don't care about, about video game characters and what they do or don't do on a daily basis. But if you put that in front of an 8-year-old, they're gonna care. So I like the portion where there is an age in it. And there's also 21 or over. Now, as an adult educator, they're always 21 or over. That way, to make sure that it's more geared towards the adult learner. So when they get done taking the quiz, they'll read it and they'll answer the question. Then they'll click submit. Now, what I tell my students is don't translate don't translate the program, because, for example, for me, Spanish is my second language, and there's some things that just don't translate. So what I want my students to do, and it gives a more authentic reading, is just read it. If they get the quiz wrong, don't worry about it, because what we'll do, because of the adaptive program, it'll go easier. So if a student, let's say, taking a quiz, one of the quizzes, and it's at the 3rd grade level, for example, if they get it right, it'll go a little harder. If they get it wrong, a little easier. And if they get it wrong again, it'll go easier. So up and down and up and down is truly adaptive for the student. And then, of course, it also gives some immediate feedback. Now, what's interesting for you K-12 teachers is it also has your state standards. So you got your Common Core standards, you got your state standards. Let's go next. So again, how I start every semester as an adult education teacher, I introduce a program. I tell them why it's important. I think that's really important, actually, for all learners. They need to know why this program is important and what it does for them. Because if they don't understand why, it's just something that they have to do, they're not going to be engaged. Allow the students to complete the pretest. Help the student as they're doing the quizzes. If they're not for sure on how to do it, work with them and kind of just show them how to read it. It's even the lowest digital literacy students are able to do this program, and I work with them all. I've got students that they had a first grade education in their country. They've never touched a computer in their life, and they're doing ReadTheory, and then they like it, and they're actually understanding how to do it. Again, so they can share how they can track their own progress. They can talk about it. I actually have used it for openers. So, for example, I'll have my adult ESL students. They'll say, for example, let's say on a Tuesday, how many quizzes did you do last week? And then they like a question and answer. And then how many quizzes? So then how many quizzes do you have for this week? And the question and answer and question and answer. Again, what it does is you can use them as icebreakers. You can use them as openers. It also lets them know kind of that people are watching them, and so it helps hold them accountable. It also sets a goal and an expectation. Again, for me, it seems to work as I do 10 quizzes for the week. The first day of the week is on Sunday. A lot of times I use a program called Remind. It's just a messaging program, and I'll pre-program a message on Sunday afternoon. All of a sudden, it just hits their phone on Sunday afternoon while I'm sitting back drinking my coffee or out with my dogs. And all of a sudden, the student will get a message on your phone. Hey, how's your ReadTheory quizzes going, or something like that. Kind of gets them motivated. And they also lets them know that they still need to be working on their reading on a Sunday, because it all counts. It's their education, not mine. I've already learned a second language. My students are learning a second language. Let's go next. It does connect with your LMS. You can go like Schoology. I use Schoology. I have a little button for mine where the students click on the link, and then they log in, and they just log in through Google. There's Schoology, Clever, ClassLink, Canvas, Google Classroom. But yeah, I mean, it does connect with your LMS. Some of the benefits of ReadTheory. It personalized the learning for every single student. So again, and right now I teach an intermediate low, what they call level, which is a level 3A. So level intermediate low, think first semester intermediate low. That's what I teach. I know that, excuse me, in my classroom, even today, I've got students with a second grade reading level. Well, I've got two students that have a sixth grade and seventh grade reading levels. So I've got in the same classroom, I've got students at varying levels, and they're able to, but it personalizes what's good for them. And each student is not going to get the same quiz. So, it's adaptive. It does give real-time performance reports, which I love, because I can literally see at any time of the day or night of where my students are at. Engaging content. And again, it gives immediate feedback for the students, which is what they want. Let's go next. Excuse me, and the standards, kind of like what I was talking about. You can use it'll have your standards. Now, what's fun about this is it will analyze your class to, for example, talking about author's purpose or theme or central idea or something like that. Then what you can do is, let's say your class is in a low performance on author's purpose, for example. What you can do is you can now design lessons towards to raising the class level up on author's purpose, for example. I use another little program called Quiz Quizzizz, Quizzes, to kind of help me to lift those students up because I have very large classes. My morning class, I have an 8 to 10 class. I've got 54 students on my roster, and I think today I had about 48 in my classroom. So I have a large class. But what it'll allow me to do is I can use my data. This is hard data to devise learning opportunities for my students in the future. Okay, so this is kind of what I'm talking about, the grouping. So after you get the students in the program and get them through all the preliminary quizzes, you will see their grade level. Now, as an adult education teacher, I teach ESL. What I can do is I can take, for example, let's say I'm going to have a speaking activity. I can take something like this. I can take Jacob, Olivia, and maybe I have another student that maybe he or she is sitting at the second grade level, for example. What I can do is I can take them and put them in a group and then do a speaking group activity. So where, for example, Jacob may be the speaker of the group. Olivia might be the writer of the whatever activity. And then the lower level student, they're just the monitor. And what their job is to monitor and make sure the students don't speak in the first language. So in other words, there'll be like a writing activity or speaking activity or presenting activity. And so that lower level student will be watching them to make sure they don't revert back to Spanish, and they're learning to express themselves in English. And so if they do, I teach my students English only, and the students like that because they're able to. Can we go back on that? What they're able to do is they're able to. It keeps them on track and gets them to communicate in the English language. I can also do something like I can go like middle like that, or I might do something like Matthew Wilson, Jacob, put them at a paired activity. I can put them in one group while I go to another portion of the room, and where I need to work with them, kind of a pull-out group, and I need to work with them on a lower level, so I can kind of raise their understanding of the content of what we're doing. Meanwhile, I've got Jacob and Matthew that are pretty much getting it, and they're kind of working on their own. And then what you can do is you can kind of push them to make them a little higher, and they're going to continue to eat it up. Excuse me. Go next. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I can also build, again, like I said before, I build daily routines and culture. I use it as a warm-up. Like I said before, on Monday morning, first 15 minutes. I'll do 2 days a week with my students. Like first 15, 20 minutes, I'll just have them come in to do read theory. But again, what I've noticed is when there is a quote downtime, let's say they finish up another like a worksheet or speaking activity or whatever, my students have a computer with them and they always log in to read theory, and they're always reading on read theory. So it's actually fun to watch this happen, and it just happens organically. It gives them a gamification with kind of like a gamification element. So in other words, if they get the answer correct or they get all the quizzes or whatever, it gives them like a popping balloon and hurrah, yay, and whatever. And it gives them that positive experience and kind of a gamification of not really gamification. It's not, but it just gives them that a nice feeling that they're moving forward and making progress. There's one where how well does it work on cell phones? Judith, it actually works great on cell phones. I send my students a link. I use a program on ReadTheory, and the students log in and they do it. Um, and I use and so my students use their single sign-on. Because of LAUSD email, they use a single sign-on. They log in and they do it, and then I can monitor their progress. Let's go next. All right. Teaching your students to read in context. This is critical because it gives them the critical thinking skills. It gives them, they're not translating word by word because, again, I speak Spanish as my second language, and there's some things that they would say in Spanish that does not translate to English, and vice versa. So it does teach a student to read in context, and I've noticed that my students are actually, when they have been doing this program more, they're actually, ironically, they're actually speaking more because they're having more confidence because they're seeing their progression. So it's helped in ways that I never even thought possible. But again, the reading in context is key. And as an adult ESL teacher, I'm actually able to make a pretty good predictor of success of my students promoting to the next level. Let's go next. It's easy to navigate. Again, no matter the digital literacy level, low-level students, in the summer, I had all of my students doing ReadTheory, and I had a student that he had never been on a computer ever. Never, not once. I put him on the computer. I had him in, we use a learning management system called Schoology, and I put my student on Schoology. Of course, you have to have some patience, and you get people to help him, or I would actually sit other students that have a little bit more digital literacy, sit them next to him, and they would pitch in and help out. But I have him spend the time on ReadTheory, and and off he goes. And so the digital literacy is super easy. If they're low level digital literacy, don't worry about it. Put them on ReadTheory. Now, those of you that teach English as a second language, if you're beginning low first semester, I don't know if I recommend it, but beginning low second semester or beginning low 1B is what we would say in Los Angeles, I highly recommend it. I've done that level, and I've had my students on ReadTheory, and they love the program, and they see it grow, and they see themselves grow. Let's go. It also encouraged the adult students to have a family time. So I wish I could tell you I was really, really smart. I don't think I really am, but I do listen to a lot of people, and I listened to two of my students. I actually used to teach at a branch site, and a husband and wife. They were from Caracas, and they came into my classroom, and they said, Mr. Jordan, our daughter is in school and she's struggling in reading. Is there a way where we can put her on ReadTheory? Well, I never thought about it at the time, but I listened, and I'm able to, oh yeah. So what we did is we sat down and we talked about it, and we got their daughter enrolled in the program so that she can be successful in her reading at her school, because she was in like the third grade. So what I also encourage my adult students to do, actually do it a couple of times a year, is to sit down with their students for 20 minutes, 30 minutes a day, and just sit down with them and say, hey, come here, sit down. I want you to read. And the students, and the idea is there's a family time, and I love the whole family concept, because when the family studies together and works together, what happens is, especially when those kids get older, when that child gets to be a teen, late teen, or whatever, I know this is true from experience. When that child gets older and has an issue like many teenagers do, they will have a closer connection with their parent. When they have that closer connection, when they get into problems, They're not going to be trying to hide it. They're going to go to their mom or go to their dad because they've had that connection from when they were a child doing homework together, and it's just a connection. And that's another critical. One of the things that I love about Read Theory, because it can build a family dynamic and family connection together. It works. I don't know what to tell you. It works. The program works. I have a student right now in my intermediate low 3. She's actually been with me for about a year and a half. And starting in level 2, her reading level was at the first grade level. And she's done approximately 2,300 quizzes. She's only gotten 400 correct. I don't care. But she's completed, about 2,300 quizzes, but her reading level has gone from the first grade reading level. She's now reading at the 4th, almost 5th grade reading level. And she's doing it right. And she does probably about 30 quizzes a week. She's low level digital literacy skills when she came in, but I have her on the computer every day. She has a school laptop that she's able to work on at home. She's not really good on her phone just yet. She's still struggling with that one, but she's completed 2,300 quizzes, and her reading level has gone up, and she's actually seen her reading level gone up. And then because of that, her confidence in speaking has also gone up, which I've noticed for the growth over time. Lexile level, it goes hand in hand with the grade level. Again, I'm not, as an adult educator, I know that in K-12, Lexile level is very important. I know that. In adult education, that's not a big one for me personally, because I deal in grade level, but it does give you Lexile level progression. And so those of you that are in the K-12 arena, it helps measure that Lexile level for you, and it gives you hard numbers, gives you data. You can collaborate. Now, the idea for me, this is my Kevin Jordan's perfect world. I teach a level 3A. In Kevin Jordan's perfect world, what would happen is a level 2B students, my level 2 ESL B students, in other words, second semester teacher, would have a group of students that they would promote to me. They would come into my class. It's an easy way where I can put them into my class. The student doesn't lose their progress. And then they'll be with me for a while, and then I would hand it off to the next level teacher. That's Kevin Jordan's perfect world. So, but it can be done. And the idea is you don't want the student to start over. Because if the student starts over, then they're going to feel like that there's well, what did I just do? But what you want to do is when you get in your, for example, grade levels, because I know there's several K-12s, what you can do is you can, in your grade level or across your school, is you can have the 5th grade teachers working with the 6th grade teachers and the 4th grade teachers, and everybody uses the program, and then that way the students, just a handoff procedure, so that this child will continue to grow and progress. And by the time they get done with 6th grade, it should, if it's done correctly, there should be a strong growth over time. And then the reading level for your school will increase. As an adult education unit, the idea is the students go from, again, I really recommend in ESL level 1, second semester, level 1B, going up to level 6, to our level 6, which is advanced learners. So let's go. There will be an access to your 30-day upgrade to premium. Put it in the chat, Courtney. Highly recommended.
All right. Well, thank you, Kevin. We're going to take some questions. I know there were some questions as we were going. I'm going to scroll up and read some of them that we didn't get to aloud. Let's see. One is the content AI generated? Nope, the content is created by a team of writers. Many of them former educators or current educators. Many of them have their PhDs. So the content on Read Theory is created by real humans. We do have an AI passage builder, not connected to the program, that's new. That you can create your own printable worksheets using AI. But the passages on Read Theory, what we just all talked about today, those are all created by our team of writers. The second part of your question, can we enter the learner's age so the content generated is more relevant and engaging?
Yes, there is. Yes, there is. Yeah, there is a portion when the student signs up, there is an age. You put in the student's age. So you may have, for example, 11-year-olds, like I said before, 11-year-olds are interested in cartoons and video game content and whatever. Probably Pokemon. I know I'm probably dating myself right here, but there are things that they are interested in that someone that's 26 couldn't care less about. So yeah, it's content relevant to the age group.
Another question, Hernandez, can you tell me if a certain county has access to Read Theory? So Read Theory, we do have a free plan that we've always had a free plan for teachers and students to use. Then we do have individual premium teacher plans and school and district plans. So you can use it even if your county doesn't have a premium license. But if you email me, Courtney@readtheory.org, I can let you know. If you tell me the name of the county, I can let you know if they have a premium subscription or not. I'll put my email here in the chat.
No, it is, for those of you that are not familiar, it is web-based. So there's no apps. Now, why is that important? Well, apps actually collect data. If you go web-based, it does not collect data. So this is all. I mean, if you can access the World Wide Web, just go to readtheory.org. I mean, you should be able to. You don't need anything other than just an internet access.
Yes. Let's see what else we have here. Other questions. How many readings are in the pretest? I'm not sure how many readings. I know it's about 8 to 10 questions.
8.
Is that what it is? 8? Yeah.
There are 8 in the pretest. And again, what I do is I prioritize literally the first week of school of every school year, every trimester, every semester. I prioritize making sure that the students understand that they're going to do reading. Spend the first day, of course, on the first day of every semester, you're going to want to do the introductions and this and the other. But the second day, I would prioritize maybe 30 minutes for the balance of the week every day to have them just read and have quiet time, just read theory, reading. They can do it on their phone. They can do it on the computer. And also, by the way, setting the student accounts up are super easy. So
This looks like a question for you. Karen has a question. Is there a form or a document that you use to hold students accountable by keeping track of their progress?
well, what I do is a student can, even on the free plan, there is a My Progress portion where the student can click on My Progress, then has the dates. Again, I do a weekly holding accountable. So I'll have them click on My Progress. I show the students how to do it. Um, and it's all done within the first couple of weeks of school. So the idea is you want to give the power to the student and take the power away from you and give it back to the student, because that's the idea. So what I do is on the premium plan, what I do is I assign my students 10 quizzes every week. First day of the week is on Sunday. Last day of the week is on Saturday. I set it up as a recurring activity. So they will continue every week. Every time they log in, it'll show that they were assigned 10 quizzes. And then what I do is, there's times where I want to have the students just do a speaking activity, kind of a warm up, if you will. And so what I'll do is I have the students log in. They will see their own progress. If they've done any quizzes, they will see it. If they haven't done any quizzes, they will see it. And when the student looks at the data, they'll see something over. So in other words, you may say 1/7. That means they got one quiz correct over seven total. As an ESL teacher, I don't really care about the one. It doesn't really that this doesn't really. I mean, for me, the bigger one that I worry about is the 7. Do they have 7 quizzes, and will they have 10 by the end of the week? That's what I'm concerned about, because the program is adaptive and it goes up and down for the student. Did I answer the question? I hope.
I think so. Let's see. Any other questions? I think we got most of them that were in the chat. I saw someone did ask for a Lexile level chart. I believe we have that somewhere. It might be in our help center, so I'll look for that. Let's see. Karen, 30-day free trial says up to 40 students and then billed annually. Yes.
Is it 40 students? No, really.
The 30-day free trial link is for 40 students. Our individual premium plan is for 40 students.
Oh, okay.
Karen, if you have more than 40 students, email me and we can accommodate your students on the trial. Actually, I'm going to put this email in here too, support@readtheory.org. Support@readtheory.org. There we go. And they'll be able to help you. We have a real support team. We don't use AI. We don't use bots. So someone will a real human will answer your question and help you out.
Okay, so there was a question there. I saw Laura's got one about, can the pretest be done more than once? No. And you don't want it done more than once. You just want them to take the pretest organically. Just let it go. Just take the pretest and be done. Then what's going to happen? Then they'll enter the program. Then the program will continue to adjust for the student. So let's say on the pretest they did a bunch of translations. They translated in their native language. The next thing I know, they're in the 7th grade level, or 7th grade reading level, but they're actually in the 3rd grade. Well, something's not right. Okay. So, but what will happen is when the student answers it organically without translations and they just read, it'll adapt for the student. It'll adapt back down to their normal reading level. So the answer is no, you don't want it. No, you can't have it redone for the pretest. And no, you don't want it redone. You just want them to answer it organically. This is what I'm saying. Set it up the first week or so of the class period. Have the students come in, log in, read, walk around, filtering, in and out of the students and whatever, helping the students as needed. And what will happen is the students will just going to read, and then they're going to be answering the questions organically, like which is what you want. There's another one, vocabulary activity. There are worksheets on the premium plan. I'm not for sure. I'm not for sure what you mean by that, Cher.
Sure, there's vocabulary practice, tier 2 and tier 3 vocabulary practice, but we're not necessarily grading that. We don't have a report necessarily on vocabulary. If that answers your question.
Now, what this can do, I teach adult ESL, and I've got probably through all of my classes, I've got 50. I have about 130 students, 140 students total on my Read Theory or in my Read Theory classes. But there is a little portion where you can take it from multiple choice to a writing activity, where you can change it over to go reading to focus on writing. Now, I teach adult ESL. I'm also the leadership of the second largest teachers union in the country. I'm also taking a class for my master's degree. I'm also a puppy parent. And so, yeah, so I've got a few things going on in my life. So I can't. So if you want to turn it on so that you can grade their writing activities, you can actually do that as well. But yes, that one can happen too. So reading out loud first 10 to 15 minutes. They read on their own. Yes, read on their own. Dulce and Felix. Yes, read on their own. So there's a question there. I do not use it with my ESL level 1A, like beginning low A. I don't know that I've never done it with a 1A. I'm not saying it's not possible, but I've taken it down to beginning low second semester, or like what they call a 1B in Los Angeles. And it works. What I do is with those students, even if they don't have a computer or don't have access to technology, I take the link. There's a little login link. I send it to them via ReadTheory or via Remind, Scooby, and they just log in, and I give them 15, 20 minutes just to read on their phone. And what I'm doing also is I'm pushing the fact that yes, they can do this on their phone. And I don't know about you, but the way I feel about it, this little phone, it's not just a telephone; it's a walking computer. So why not have them use it? Any other questions?
Awesome. This has been great. You all have had so many good questions throughout. You've been a really engaged group. I know it's the beginning of the school year for so many of you. So we really appreciate you taking the time. It looks like, all right, it looks like we got one more question. We got 1 more minute, so we will answer it. Laura, would Read Theory be a good program for adult Surf A2 learners? What do you think, Kev?
What can you explain, Laura? What is CEFR A2? I'm not familiar with the terminology. I don't know the terminology.
Oh, Common European Framework of Reference for Language.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I mean, it's good for anybody. Yeah, this program is not. I mean, I teach in South LA, where I think I have 2 students that speak Cantonese as their first language, but the rest of mine are Hispanic students. But this program, we have an area of Los Angeles that primarily the language in the area is Russian, and that's a big Russian Ukrainian population. And there are teachers in that area, portion of Los Angeles, that use Read Theory and are very successful at it. So yeah, it's good for everybody. So yeah, Judith Farsi is another one. Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you all, and thank you mostly, Kevin, for your time today and putting this together for all of us. We're so lucky to hear from you. Thank you all for coming, and we wish you an amazing start to the new school year. Bye, all.
Bye.